see Reiner Lawrence wrap a helmet. He's going to wrap it with a combination of full print and chrome, which is super beautiful. And this helmet is actually a complement to a full coverage wrap he did on a Porsche. You'll see that sometimes in the backdrop while he's wrapping. So definitely check out those videos because they're very, very, very interesting. It involves full print, chrome, and PPF. Let's get back to this helmet now. This is the WrapU Ezee from Yellow Tools. This is actually a tool that Reiner helped develop. So right now he's working on the table and he cuts away the excess film, folds it over just for extra security so when he goes to pull it doesn't pop off. Now he's going to wrap the side of the helmet. Always good to kind of anchor it on one side so you can flip it to the other. Don't need to anchor it too much because you want it to flex as it comes around the curve. Heats it, then conforms it. What's nice about this WrapU Ezee, it just really evenly stretches the film around compound curves. You may have seen it on the Wrap Institute in other videos where generally it's used to wrap mirrors, but obviously a helmet in many ways is the same shape as a mirror. So obviously once he gets it set, just try to take the material as far as you can. Once it's set, I'm going to pull it a little more, take it around. So normally with the helmet he would be done and he would cut off the excess film, but because this helmet is a giant curve, in many ways much more curvy than most mirrors, now he's going to take it a little farther on the side once he kind of locked it in on that main area, then pulls down. And once he feels like he's in a good position, kind of can start to pull it off the WrapU Ezee, the wrap film. Then he can kind of start to work it individually. So this obviously saves a huge amount of time. And especially if you're a solo installer, this is a great way to kind of get super far in a helmet. Otherwise, maybe a yo-yo Momo would help out. But again, that's what the WrapU Ezee is for. Maybe it should be called a yo-yo Ezee. So either way, Reiner's bringing the material down, heating and pulling. And obviously the trick with this is to not overstretch. You want that tension super even on all sides. So it brings it down, locks it down, and then here just adds a little bit more heat. So very, very important to start reading the material. This particular material is a cast film. It's around 3.3 mil thick or around 80 microns. So it's nice and thin. You really want a thin material for helmets if you can have that option. Then here, Reiner puts 4 fingers on either side and pulls. So you got 8 fingers at different tension points to really spread it out. So on this side, really kind of heating, pulling, but not heating and pulling too much, just enough to kind of make it soft. So it really conforms around that edge, nice and clean. As soon as he feels like it's in a good position, locks it in with a squeegee stroke, double checks the edges are down nice and tight. So just super thorough. You can see it's just a nice, good finish on the helmet right now. It's glassy, looks really good. Nothing looks super distorted. Here, just kind of pulls it nice and gentle just to get to this last point. Again, reading the wrinkles, making sure everything's down nice and tight. So you can see just kind of massaging the film a little bit, angling the tension, reading those wrinkles. Very good master class in terms of how to shift the material and take the material farther with minimal heat. So notice he's just kind of angling the material, shifting it back and forth, and great read right there. And once he feels like it's in a good spot, then he locks it in. Now he's coming in with fine line tape. This is a blue tape from Yellow Tools. It's really thick and it's conformable. So he basically is putting this on as a cutting guide for his blade. Could have used knifeless tape, but because he's picking the material up and down so many times, the chance of the knifeless tape coming off the surface is very, very high. So in this case, if you have good cutting skills and you feel like you can cut without cutting too deep, the fine line tape plus cutting directly on the surface is a good call. Then once that cut is made out in the middle, and now he's just trimming off the excess film on the side. There's a nice good gap for the blade to hold on to the helmet right now. So just kind of get a good nice touch, super sharp blade. Let the blade do the cutting. But again, if you have the right angle with the blade towards that edge at the front of the helmet, it should hold nice and clean. So again, a good solid one kind of flow cut. Once that cut is made, pulls the excess film low and away in case he didn't cut too deep, and then just comes back in and seals the deal. So very good, clean, straightforward finishing on the edge right there. So once one side is done, now he's going to do the exact same thing for the other side. So notice he does have that on a hinge on the table, puts a microfiber towel underneath it just in case when he does pull, what he just wrapped doesn't get, let's say, damaged by the edge of the table. So very important to kind of anticipate any kind of movement on the helmet. Here, heating the material, and it's basically going to start and install it exactly the same way you just saw it. So it gives it a kiss of heat, anchors it on that flat, adds some more heat, and then stretches it around. So very straightforward. Again, that WrapU Ezee is just worth its weight in gold. Now he's basically making a cut right now using that fine line tape and creating a nice, good symmetrical gap. So he's obviously measured it ahead of time, really just kind of stands back, make sure it's lined up perfectly. Once he feels like it's nice and straight, here's a good close-up of the cut. Notice how he's keeping that blade angle of the edge of the blade at around 10 degrees towards the surface. If you do that, that really helps keep the blade from going too deep. If you angle the blade too high, what's called peaking, that definitely can make the blade go too deep and you'll cut the helmet. So here, again, that fine line tape just creates a nice good edge to cut along, make sure it's super straight. And just so we're clear, this is a negative gap on the helmet right now. So this is a negative space. So basically why he's doing this is pretty much impossible to wrap this helmet in one piece and have it stay for the long term, even with the Wrap-U Ezee. So in this case now he's double checking it with heat to see if there's any fingers. And by creating this negative gap, he's going to put an overlay piece on top. And what this overlay piece on top is going to do is obviously two things, in the sense that it's going to get full coverage, but now because this piece doesn't stretch nearly as much as the two full print pieces that went on, this is actually going to hold any tension. Now, before he puts this piece on, and this piece is actually printed chrome, and this is actually Hexus gold chrome. He printed this design on it, and he basically is going to cut off this little hinge at the back. So right here, this, obviously couldn't come off because it's riveted on. So it's a pre-cut piece, which is super smart. So this is actually going to be his starting point. So he folds the liner over, exposes the adhesive by about, I would say, 2 or 3 inches, then pulls this down so he has a nice good template. So obviously you want to make sure that this is super symmetrical right in the center, because this stripe actually has to fit perfectly on both sides of the full print. And because it's chrome right now, he's has to add a little bit of heat to stretch. So very important to keep the liner on and just pull it nice and even. Definitely could use knifeless tape right here, but if anyone has ever used knifeless tape on chrome, it can be a little jagged and not create great cuts. So very important to just now get this nice even tension. And if you have good skills and don't try to take off too much of the liner and try to put it all in one piece, you can actually keep that edge nice and uniform. So once he gets that first part started with heat, he can pull along here. Again, minimal heat right now. Keep in mind that this film, because it's chrome, is a little thick, so it has a nice good body to it. Reiner kisses it with heat right there, right on the edge to kind of relax it, so the material can kind of sit on the surface. Then he kind of squeegees right there to seal the deal, no wrinkles, and it's nice and uniform. So that backside is set. Just for this one more kiss of heat right there, you see it just kind of soften the film, takes the squeegee. Keep in mind that this is unlaminated printed chrome, so there's no lamination on there. So make sure your squeegee is nice and soft and brand new. Now the transition towards the front. Again, right here, the helmet is not on a hinge right now because he has to kind of move and reposition it. So here right now, kind of pulling towards the front, working in little bits right now. Obviously make sure the fingers are nice and clean so there's no oil transferring to the adhesive side. Then once he has about 8 inches on, comes back and squeegees it to lock it in place, double checks the alignment, very important. Essentially the overlap right now is about, I would say about 1/4 inch, so it's nice and thick. So this is really going to hold any tension that was in the full print right on that edge. And keep in mind that when he does pull towards the front, he's not pulling straight down towards the edge. He's actually spreading that material out in that triangle shape. So he is pulling at 45 degrees on either side. That really kind of evens out that tension, so there's no fingers on the edge. So once he's set at the front, really double checks to make sure that those edges are nice and sealed. Now here, this is just a standard tuck and cut, so it's right next to that molding, bam. No tension at the front, so it's just nice and easy and straightforward. No need to kind of heat it beforehand. Just obviously you want to make sure you heat it when you're done. Always just make sure the edges are sealed. This is activating the adhesive on the chrome and making sure everything sits down nice and clean. But I love this element because obviously it matches the full print film on the sides in terms of the design, but printing on the chrome gives that great two-tone feel to it, and obviously it matches the Porsche, which is awesome. So I hope you picked up a lot of good tips and tricks in this very special helmet wrap from Reiner Lawrence. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.